I bet you guys have been wondering where I've been. It's been almost a month since I've uploaded a video, and probably when this gets uploaded, it's been over a month. And if I'm being honest with y'all, if I was keeping it 100% P with y'all, me and my wife got a divorce. She kept adding new boyfriends to her roster, drafting another after another after another. At first I agreed to only 10 extra boyfriends in our relationship, and she just kept drafting more. And honestly, watching from the cuck chair just didn't seem the same anymore. And even at some points, she would replace herself with me in the bedroom. It would just be me and her boyfriend, one-on-one, in the bed, kind of against my will, not gonna lie. So what'd I do? I finally grew the balls and divorced her. And then I wanted her back. So now currently I'm actually my wife's boyfriend. Or should I say my girlfriend? I'm not sure how it works anymore. She married one of her boyfriends, and since I begged, texted, and I pay for the house that they live in, she dumped all of her other boyfriends and only kept me as her new boyfriend. You might have her body, but I got her mind and her heart, bro. And after she kept drafting guy after guy after guy, it made me think, out of all these guys, who would be the ultimate #1 overall pick? And that gave me a video idea. Here is ranking every #1 overall pick in NFL history. Now I'm going to set up some rules. There is 91 of these motherfuckers. As you can tell from this video length, that's a lot. So on some real shit, from 91 to about 30, don't argue with me on the fucking rankings, my nigga. Don't argue me that George Cafego is better than Angelo Bertelli. You guys don't know them niggas, bro. Like, let's be so fucking real right now. This goes all the way back to 1936. Don't argue the placement of Harry Gilmer or Frank Sinkwich, my nigga, because I don't give a fuck. And to make this video more entertaining for me, every 10 names I list, I gotta chug one bush apple. And currently it's 10:38 in the morning. I might get my ass ripped when my girlfriend gets home. But you know what? Fuck it, we ball. That's what we're about to do. So with that being said, let's get into the list. Whoa! Before we really dive into this list, like, comment, subscribe, or OJ Simpson, Ray Lewis, and Aaron Hernandez will break into your house and murder your dog. First off, we got our first guy that I just won't rank because out of respect for him and his family, Ernie Davis. Ernie Davis was the first black man to win the Heisman. He's one of the greatest running backs in NCAA history, and that led to him getting drafted #1 overall in the 1962 NFL Draft. But with that being said, he would tragically die before his NFL career even started. Ernie Davis died from acute monocytic leukemia, a form of blood cancer. He passed away on May 18th, 1963 at the age of 23. Rest in peace, Ernie Davis. Who knows what he could have done in the NFL? He could have been an all-time great. Well, that was a depressing way to start. Number 90, Fernando Mendoza. Fernando Mendoza is probably one of the most underwhelming quarterbacks to go #1 overall in my lifetime. While I do think his ceiling isn't too high, I couldn't possibly see him busting out in the NFL if I'm being honest. I think he'll be a solid quarterback. I think his peak is like a Matt Ryan type of player, and I think his floor is like a mobile Alex Smith. But also he hasn't played a single game of football, so I can't really rank him, so number 90 is where he goes. Number 89, 1936, Jay Berwanger, running back out of Chicago. He was also the first Heisman Trophy winner as long as the first overall pick in NFL history. Now, while they don't have stats on him really in college or in the NFL, because Jay Berwanger wouldn't play a single NFL snap in his career. The first overall pick in NFL history never played a single snap, mainly because he wanted to pursue a more stable business career. Imagine if Fernando Mendoza decided not to play in the NFL because he wanted to go into a career in business. It was smart back then because NFL players weren't making a lot of money, and niggas were literally dying on the field. Add that with no benefits, no workers' rights, and you're probably making $2,000 a year. I could probably see why. And this is the midst of the Great Depression. So with that being said, number 89 is the first overall pick in NFL history, Jay Berwanger. Number 88, 1959, Randy Duncan, Iowa quarterback. He only played 2 games in his NFL career. He passed for 361 yards, 1 touchdown, and 3 interceptions. This is what I mean. There is a bunch of these niggas on the list that barely had an NFL career. They only had like 200 or so yards and threw more interceptions and touchdowns. Randy Duncan only played 2 games. None of you have heard of Randy Duncan before. I can guarantee it. You have to be like damn near 70 years old to know who this guy is. But with that being said, Randy Duncan's number 88. Number 87, Jamarcus Russell. Some of you probably thought he was going to be in last place, but honestly, it's hard to when there's some dumbass niggas that didn't even play and only played 2 games. But everyone knows the Jamarcus Russell story. Everyone thought he was a generational athlete coming out of LSU. He had the size, he had the frame, he had the arm, he had all the talent in the world, but he was fat and fucking lazy, nigga. With that being said, he was taken number 1 overall by the Oakland Raiders in the 2007 draft. He would throw 18 touchdowns with 23 interceptions and have a 7-18 quarterback record. He also would lie about watching film, and coaches would famously give him blank tapes and say it was film, and he'd come to practice the next day saying he watched the film. Generational bust. Probably arguably the worst modern day bust in NFL history, in my opinion he is. With that being said, number 87 is Jamarcus Russell. Number 86, 1947, Bob Fenimore, running back, Oklahoma State. This dude only rushed for 189 yards and 1 touchdown. I really don't got more to say about this dude. Next, number 85, Harry Babcock. That is a crazy fucking name. Harry Babcock was drafted in the 1953 draft, number 1 overall. He went to Georgia. He only had 181 receiving yards and 0 receiving touchdowns. He only had a 3-year NFL career, only playing 30 games, and he was damn near unproductive for all of them. He averaged under 5 yards per game for an NFL season. Shout out Harry Babcock though, that's the most 1950s name ever. Number 84, 1954, Bob Garrett, Stanford quarterback. Bobby Garrett played only 1 season in the NFL. He threw for 143 passing yards and 0 touchdowns. Not much more you can say about that. Number 83, 1963, Terry Baker, Oregon State quarterback. This guy threw 19 attempts in his NFL career and threw 4 interceptions. He rushed for 210 yards and 1 touchdown. I don't know what they were using to draft back in the day, but holy shit. 82, 1972, Walt Patulski, defensive end, Notre Dame. He had 21.5 sacks in his NFL career and 0 accolades. 81, 2002, David Carr, quarterback, Fresno State. He was the most sacked quarterback in an NFL season. He had 65 passing touchdowns with 71 interceptions. They don't make busts like this anymore, where his talent wasn't really on display, and he just simply wasn't good enough. Shout out David Carr though, your brother's way better, and he's in the Hall of Very Good. Alright, we're 10 names in. That means we drink a Busch Light. Bottoms up. I'm gonna fucking hate myself for this. Oh my god. I gotta do that 9 fucking times. Number 80, 1992, Steve Ettman, Washington, defensive end. This dude had 8 sacks in his career. And this was late enough in NFL history in 1992 where this shouldn't have happened for a number 1 overall pick. And it's not even like this dude played 2 years. He played half a decade in the league and only racked up 8 sacks. In 50 games, he had 8 sacks. Number 79, 1955, George Shaw, quarterback, Oregon. George Shaw had a career 5,829 passing yards, 41 passing touchdowns, 63 interceptions. He never had a season where he threw more touchdowns than interceptions. His closest was in 1960 where he threw 11 touchdowns with 13 interceptions, but he was really just a mediocre draft bust. Number 78, 1982, Kenneth Sims, defensive end, Texas. This dude had 17 total sacks in his NFL career. And once again, we are way late in NFL history. We are hitting the 80s to make this kind of draft pick. And once again, it's not like this guy had a 2 or 3 year career. This dude almost played for a decade in the league, and the most sacks he had in a season was 5.5, and he went number 1 overall. Number 77, Courtney Brown, defensive end, Penn State. Another guy who was drafted way too late in NFL history to be this bad, especially at defensive end. While Courtney Brown did have some talent, he obviously showed it at Penn State. He only had 19 sacks in 6 years, and the Browns were just in their peak of making horrible number 1 overall pick decisions. As you'll see in literally just a few picks, another Brown pops up here. But yeah, Courtney Brown was a bust. The most sacks he had in a season was 6, which is something you don't want to hear out of a number 1 overall pick, and ultimately he flamed out of the league in under 6 years. Number 76, 1938, Corby Davis, running back, Indiana. This guy only had 382 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns, and he ultimately flamed out of the league in 4 years. Not a lot I can say here. Number 75, 1995, Kijana Carter, running back, Penn State. Drafting a running back number 1 overall is just a bad idea. And the Cincinnati Bengals were just in the midst of making great draft day decisions, and they drafted Kijana Carter number 1 overall. While he did display some talent, and he did have a season-ending injury in his rookie season, that doesn't really excuse the fact that this draft pick got made to running back number 1 overall, and he didn't even fucking pan out. And honestly, in the NFL since the year like 1985, if you got a good offensive line, any nigga can rush for 1,000 yards. But with that being said, number 75 is 1995, Kijana Carter. better. Number 74, 1999, Tim Couch, quarterback, Kentucky. What did I say about these Cleveland Browns? They're great at making number 1 overall picks. Now, if I'm being honest with you, it's hard to tell you if Tim Couch was really that bad or he was on the 90s and early 2000s Cleveland Browns. In Tim Couch's career, he threw for 11,131 passing yards, 64 touchdowns, and 67 interceptions. But like I said, granted, he was on the Cleveland Browns. Number 73, 2025, Cam Ward, quarterback, Miami. He only played 1 season. He threw for 3,169 yards in this season and threw 15 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Now, he might have only played 1 season, but these stats are almost better than every fucking quarterback I've named up to this goddamn point. I believe this guy will be a league MVP. I believe he'll be one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history, top 20 for sure. This dude's talented, he's a highlight reel, and he's committed to the game. I can't see it going wrong. But with that being said, number 73 is Cam Ward. Number 72, 1991, Russell Maryland, defensive end. It's ironic that the Dallas Cowboys, after this draft pick, went on to be the team of the 90s and win 3 Super Bowl championships in this decade. None of it had to do with Russell Maryland. Well, at times he was just simply alright. He simply wasn't the driving force of the Dallas Cowboys. And for a number 1 overall pick, especially a guy you think is going to get to the quarterback, make plays, stop the run up the middle, wasn't really good at that either. But he did make 1 Pro Bowl actually in 1993 and retired with 24.5 sacks and 466 total tackles. Number 71, 1941, Tom Harmon, quarterback, Michigan. This is one of the guys that was drafted in the mid-40s that served in World War II instead of playing NFL football, but he did end up coming back at it, playing with the running back position. He would rush for 542 yards and 4 touchdowns. But yeah, number 71, Tom Harmon. Since we hit 71, it's time for another beer. But hold on, I just know something about my list. Now the next 10, they should probably be lower. I don't know what I was doing. I don't know what I was thinking, but they should probably be lower. But I refuse to rearrange the list because fuck the man. What? This is my list. What? So with that being said, let's drink another beer. Only if my wife liked me as much as I like beer. Cheers. Oh, fuck. I couldn't imagine being like a man in the 1940s with like no fucking workers, right? Working in the mercury mill, getting fucking lung poisoning, not having any health benefits. And then your fucking wife, that might be your cousin, gives you your 4th beer that you chug. I get why they might have beat him, low key. Number 70, 1937, San Francisco, Nebraska, running back. He rushed for 873 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns. Number 69, 1940, George Cafago, Tennessee. He played all of the above. 966 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, and 16 interceptions. This is one of the guys I probably should have put lower. Number 68, 1944, Angelo Bertelli, Notre Dame, quarterback. This is the first quarterback to go number 1 overall. Hell, at this point in NFL history, a literal center went number 1 overall before a quarterback did. Guess what? He was a bust. He threw for 972 passing yards, 8 touchdowns, and 19 interceptions. But he still lays his mark in history as the first quarterback to go number 1 overall. So it's number 68, Angelo Bertelli. 67, Bully Dancewigs. For the love of God, I don't know how to pronounce his fucking name, dude. 1948, Notre Dame quarterback. Coincidentally, this is the second quarterback to go number 1 overall. And how would he do? Fucking horrible. He'd throw for 1,551 yards, 12 touchdowns to 29 interceptions. That's a whole lot of ass, my nigga. Number 66, 1958, King Hill Rice, quarterback. This guy threw for 5,053 passing yards, 37 touchdowns to 71 interceptions. Number 65, 1956, Gary Glick, Colorado State. He wasn't a bad kicker, and he also caught 14 interceptions as a defensive back. Pretty cool shit, man. Number 64, 1943, Frankie Sinkwich, Georgia, running back. Frankie Sinkwich wasn't bad. He made 1 first-team All-Pro somehow in 1944, where he passed for 1,060 yards, 12 touchdowns to 20 interceptions, but he also rushed for 563 yards and 6 touchdowns. Not horrible stuff. For his career passing, he would pass for 1,913 yards, 19 touchdowns to 42 interceptions, to go along with 1,097 rushing yards and 7 touchdowns. So yeah, number 64, Frankie Sinkwich out of Georgia. Number 63, Harry Gilmore, 1948, quarterback, Alabama. This dude was somehow a 2-time Pro Bowler. He passed for a career 3,786 passing yards, 23 passing touchdowns, 45 interceptions, and 923 rushing yards. In the year he made the Pro Bowl, he threw 8 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. That's 1930s and 1940s football for you. I don't know what to tell you. With that being said, number 63 on my list is Harry Gilmore. Number 62, 1965, Tucker Frederickson, Auburn running back. He was a one-time Pro Bowler. He rushed for 2,209 yards and 9 touchdowns. Not a lot to say here, but solid running back. Should he have been first overall pick? Probably not. Number 61, 1973, Missouri John Matuzak. He was a two-time Super Bowl champion with the Raiders, and he had 48.5 sacks and 0 accolades in total. Matuzak was famous for being in the Goonies, as he played Sloth, which is just a great fun fact. He was a solid NFL player, having 2 seasons with 9 sacks in 1976 and 1977, but overall for a first overall pick, he was a bust. And on that note, we got another one coming, boys. We're not even halfway through this motherfucker, if I'm being honest with you. Well, let's get back to the list. Number 60, 1986, Bo Jackson, Auburn, running back. His highlights are insane. For how big he is, the speed he runs at is absolutely absurd for a running back. There is no breakaway speed like this in NFL history, and he's faster than Tyreek Hill on a straight line. But with that being said, he might be one of the most overrated players in NFL history. As an athlete, he's second to none. But in his NFL career, yeah, he averaged great yards per carry, but he would only play half a season. He never rushed for 1,000 yards, and Chris Ivory has more rushing yards than him, my nigga. Monty Ball has more rushing yards than him, my nigga. So when people come up to me and say he's the greatest football player ever, you just gotta side-eye him because they were probably in a special ed room at one point in their life. With that being said, number 60 is Bo Jackson. Number 59, 1977, Ricky Bell, USC, running back. Ricky Bell rushed for 1,200 yards in 1979, and he never regained the success and only had 3,063 total yards. He almost had half his rushing yard in 1979. But there's been such shitty number 1 overall picks. 1 year of rushing for over 1,000 yards will put you this high on the list. With that being said, number 59 is Ricky Bell. Number 58, 1988, Andre Bruce, Auburn, defensive end. Andre Bruce played over a decade in the NFL. He went number 1 overall because of his talent, and as a defensive end, he would not have over 6 sacks in an NFL season, which is just completely fucking tragic. But since he played so long, he racked up 32 total sacks and 272 tackles. Nothing impressive. You'd never want this guy as number 1 overall pick. But with that being said, number 58 is Andre Bruce. Number 57, 2010, Sam Bradford, Oklahoma quarterback. He actually won Offensive Rookie of the Year. He was in the NFL for a pretty long time. And why is he this low? I just don't like the look of this motherfucker. Like, tell me this nigga doesn't look like the biggest fucking douchebag ever. I've never seen a nigga with the least amount of facial features as this nigga. He looks very easy to fucking draw, my nigga. Number 56, 1990, Jeff George, Purdue quarterback. He's the Alex Smith of the 1990s. He led the league in passing yards in 97. He had some pretty good years. In 1994, he threw 23 touchdowns, 18 interceptions. In 1995, he threw 24 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Like I said, in 97, he threw 29 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. In 99, 23 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Pretty decent career, but would you draft him number 1 overall if the Indianapolis Colts had a redo? No, the fuck they wouldn't. Number 55, 1979, Tom Cousinow, Ohio State. He was a one-time second-team All-Pro. He placed second in Defensive Rookie of the Year, and he played 5 years in the NFL. He was a pretty decent interior linebacker, even being a good pass rusher in 1983, having 4 total sacks, and being second-team All-Pro in 1984. But sadly, his career was cut short because of injuries, because after 1985, he would only play 9 more games in those final 2 years. With that being said, number 55, Tom Cousinow. Number 54, 1994, Dan Wilkinson, Ohio State defensive tackle. He had a solid NFL career, and he had 54.5 sacks as a defensive tackle, which is very impressive. At least so far on this list. He doesn't have just like 10 sacks in a 15-year career, you know? Really, some of the guys at the bottom are really getting me depressed. But yeah, he was a decent NFL pro as a defensive tackle. He could go over 7 sacks 3 times in his NFL career. He had all the talent in the world to be an elite pass rusher. He never quite touched that, but he had a very respectable NFL career. Number 53, Jameis Winston. There's a lot you could say about Jameis Winston. You could talk about his sexual assault charges in college that gets covered up. You could talk about him saying fuck her right in the pussy and getting suspended for a few games. He's just Jameis fucking Winston. I don't know what to tell you. He led the league in passing yards in 2019 with 5,109. In that same season, it was also his famous 30 for 30 season where he threw 33 passing touchdowns for 30 interceptions. This guy really has all the talent in the world. Coming out of college, there's not too much more talented quarterbacks I've seen than Jameis Winston, but it's fucking Jameis Winston, my nigga, you feel me? He has more than under-succeeded in the NFL, if we're being honest. He's thrown 156 passing touchdowns, 113 interceptions. He might be a good backup, but that's about it, and that's not what you want out of a number 1 overall pick. With that being said, number 53 is Jameis Winston. Number 52, 2013 Eric Fisher, Central Michigan. He's a Super Bowl champ in 2019. He looked like a bust early on in his career. He's a 2-time Pro Bowler. For a few years, he was pretty decent, but he caused that stupid ass holding penalty against the fucking Steelers in 2018. With that being said, 52 Eric Fisher. Number 51, 2023 Trayvon Walker, defensive end, Georgia. He has 2 10+ sack seasons. He might not live up to the number 1 overall status. Hell, I didn't think he should have been put number 1 overall that season. But so far, he's been a solid NFL pro. That's about it at this length. There's been a bunch of draft busts. There's been a bunch of people who played 2 games. Being a decent player at this point is a fucking accomplishment. We're almost halfway through the list. And speaking of halfway through the list, it's time for another drink. Maybe I should have went to college. And to prove to y'all I ain't lying so far. All right here. Number 50, 2019, Kyler Murray, Oklahoma, quarterback. Now, Kyler Murray had a decent rookie year. He won Offensive Rookie of the Year. He made 2 Pro Bowls so far in his NFL career. He's one of the greatest rushing quarterbacks of all time. Granted, there's not a lot of good rushing quarterbacks in NFL history up until the last 30 years. He's passed for 20,460 passing yards, 121 passing touchdowns, and 80 interceptions. And he's rushed for 3,193 rushing yards and 32 rushing touchdowns. He's had a decent NFL career. I think he'll bounce back on Minnesota this year. I think he'll be actually a great quarterback this year. I think he could be an MVP candidate. But with that being said, number 50, Kyler Murray. Number 49, 1987, Vinny Testaverde, Miami quarterback. Vinny Testaverde, he was a pretty good quarterback. He played forever. He really never lived up to the number 1 overall pick, but his counting stats were really good at the time he retired, because he threw for 46,233 passing yards, 275 passing touchdowns, and 267 interceptions. He made 2 Pro Bowls. He led the league in interceptions 4 times, especially in his 1988 campaign where he threw 13 touchdowns, 35 interceptions, but you could really argue he was on the 80s Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He also had great seasons like 1996 with Baltimore throwing 33 touchdowns and 19 interceptions, or 1998 with the New York Jets throwing 29 touchdowns and 7 interceptions, and overall he had a very respectable NFL career. So with that being said, number 49 is Vinny Testaverde. Number 48, 1950, Leon Hart, Notre Dame wide receiver. Leon Hart had 2,499 receiving yards and 5 receiving touchdowns. He was a 1-time Pro Bowler, 1-time first-team All-Pro, and for his era, he was a very, very good wide receiver. But with that being said, number 48 is Leon Hart. Number 47, 1952, Bill Wade, quarterback, Vanderbilt. He's a 1-time NFL champion of the 1963 Chicago Bears, 2-time Pro Bowler. He passed for 18,530 passing yards, 124 passing touchdowns to 134 interceptions, which isn't bad for the 1950s, but pretty bad in modern era. You'd probably be out of the league in like 3 years with these stats. But hey, NFL champion quarterback, what can we say? Number 47, Bill Wade. Number 46, 1939, Key Aldrich, center, TCU. Yes, a center was drafted number 1 overall. He was a 2-time Pro Bowler, and he was a 1-time second-team All-Pro. He had a respectable career, but he's an offensive lineman that played in the 1930s. They didn't really have advanced stats or Pro Football Focus for that measure. So, yeah, number 46, Key or Kai Aldrich, I don't fucking know. Number 45, 1951, Kyle Rowe, SMU. All of the above. Now, here's actually a very good player. Here and above is at least decent NFL pros. He was a 4-time Pro Bowler, 1-time second-team All-Pro. He rushed for 871 yards, 4,797 receiving yards, and 48 receiving touchdowns. He was also a 1-time NFL champion. Did he live up to the number 1 overall status? Probably not, but I'd argue he was very close to being the number 1 overall pick or living up to that status, especially if you consider that we're halfway through the list and most of these niggas are busts. He definitely lived up above and beyond expectation compared to what was before him. Number 44, 2023, Bryce Young, Alabama quarterback. Bryce Young threw for 8,291 yards so far in his NFL career, 49 passing touchdowns with 30 interceptions. I don't get for the life of me why he went number 1 overall. I'm a fan of Bryce Young, but at the end of the day, it's not like Kyler Murray where he's a great athlete and he's shorter than Kyler Murray. He doesn't have the arm strength. I mean, he has decent accuracy, and when he's on, he is on. But I don't think I would have taken him number 1 overall, even though he was by far the consensus number 1 overall overall in 2023. With that being said, he had a decent season last year, leading the Carolina Panthers to the NFL playoffs, and he had the best year of his career, and let's see if he can do better. I'm cheering for Bryce Young, but I don't understand picking him at number 1 overall. Number 43, 2024, Caleb Williams, quarterback, USC. He's a very good quarterback. I think he'll be one of the 15 greatest quarterbacks of all time. His talent has been off the charts. I've been a fan of this guy since he was in Oklahoma, man. If you watch how this dude plays and you're just watching strictly eye test, bro, there might not be another talented quarterback in the NFL like him unless it's Patrick Mahomes. This dude's arm strength, his mobility, his playmaking ability is fucking insane. His comeback and clutchness ability, if he gets all that and he turns into an efficient passer, which he has made strides to do, watch the fuck out for the Chicago Bears. I am telling you that. So far, he's been a very good quarterback in his NFL career. He's probably going to be elite next year. He's thrown for 7,483 passing yards, 47 passing touchdowns to only 14 interceptions. That's what you want to see out of a young quarterback who's only played 2 years in the NFL. With that being said, number 43 is Caleb Williams. Number 42, 1975, Steve Bartkowski, Cal quarterback. Two-time Pro Bowler. He placed third in MVP in 1980. He has 156 passing touchdowns to 144 interceptions. And in the year he placed third in MVP, he led the league in passing touchdowns, where he threw 3,544 yards, 31 passing touchdowns to 16 interceptions in 1980. And he had followed that up in 1981 with another 30-plus passing touchdown season where he would also make a Pro Bowl. Steve Bartkowski was a very good quarterback. He didn't live up to number 1 overall status, but later in his career he developed into something at least good. Number 41, 2021, Trevor Lawrence, Clemson quarterback. One of the greatest college quarterbacks of all time when it comes to winning. He had a very good season. Hell, he placed in MVP voting last year. Led the Jacksonville Jaguars to the playoffs. I thought they were the team to fucking beat, honestly, in the AFC. He's passed for 17,882 passing yards. I do think he's been a little bit of a disappointment, considering I do consider him the last generational quarterback prospect to go number 1 overall in the NFL draft. He really hasn't lived up to it. He hasn't made an all-pro team. He hasn't looked like a top 5 quarterback really in the league. But he's been more than okay. He's been good, bare minimum. But number 41, Trevor Lawrence. And speaking of 41, Trevor Lawrence, that's another fucking drink, ain't it? Cheers. Let's get back to the fucking list. Number 40, 2013, Jadeveon Clowney, South Carolina defensive end. What a fucking freak athlete. Bare minimum, this guy's had a respectable NFL career. He's not going to be a Hall of Famer. He might make Hall of Very Good, but I really doubt that because he only has 66.5 sacks in his NFL career. He was supposed to make a tandem in Houston, Texas that would be an all-time great one with J.J. Watt, but he just simply never lived up to that trajectory. But with that being said, he has one of the greatest ball don't lie moments in football in sports history. You know what? Let's play the highlight right now.
3 yards by Ascent. Michigan goes trickeration here, trying to get the third and short on the toss, and they get to the line, and the mark will depend on it. Just short. South Carolina will take. Oh, whoa! First down. Oh, look at Spurrier and his South Carolina folks. They can't believe it, and I don't blame them. Wow. Michigan at the 41. What a hit! Ball's free on the ground. South Carolina deserves to have it, and they do.
Clowney just says, I'll take care of business right here. You give me this long to catch my breath, I'll come off the ball and rock you and get it right back for our offense.
Number 39, 2019, Baker Mayfield, Oklahoma. I didn't think he should have went number 1 overall, but he did. Honestly, I was a Sam Darnold fan. He's a 2-time Pro Bowler. He's a very good quarterback. 2 years ago, he threw for 41 passing touchdowns. This year, he had a very good season, even though all his weapons got injured. He's looking like the MVP for the first half of this NFL season, actually. And I think he'll have some pretty decent quarterback numbers by the end of his career, at least 300 passing touchdowns. And who knows, if he can win a Super Bowl, maybe he can have one breakout year like Matthew Stafford had last year, where he finally had an all-time elite season, won MVP. Who knows with Baker Mayfield, really? But I'm a fan of Baker Mayfield, and in his NFL career, he's passed for 28,524 passing yards, 197 passing touchdowns, 101 interceptions. He's very efficient. He can turn the ball over, but overall, he's very efficient so far through his NFL career. And at 39, I have Baker Mayfield. Number 38, 2005, Alex Smith, Utah. Very respectable NFL career. He's a a 4-time Pro Bowler, 1-time Comeback Player of the Year. He made the Chiefs relevant again after they had the 2-14 record in 2013, and he battled back from an insane injury when he was with the Washington Redskins. He passed for 35,650 yards, 199 passing touchdowns, 109 interceptions. Very good quarterback, never elite, and he trained Patrick Mahomes, so that's a fucking positive. Number 37, 1964, Dave Parks, Texas Tech. A very good running back in the NFL. He led the league in rushing in 1965 and rushing touchdowns. 1-time second-team All-Pro, 3-time Pro Bowler. And you could really argue he might be a Hall of Famer, just based off of having 1,344 rushing yards in 1965 on only 80 attempts, which is almost 16.8 yards per carry. Fuck, did I say rushing yards? I meant receiving yards. That makes a lot more sense. But yeah, very good NFL pro. He was a first-team All-Pro that season. Good shit, Dave Parks. Number 36, 1961, Tom Mason, running back, Tulane. He's a 1-time first-team All-Pro, 3-time Pro Bowler, rushed for 4,203 rushing yards, and had 32 rushing touchdowns. But with that being said, number 36 is Tommy Mason. Number 35, 1960, Billy Cannon, LSU. He wanted to play in the AFL instead of the NFL because fuck the man, fuck the federal government. He won 3 AFL championships. He was a 2-time first-team All-Pro. He led the AFL in rushing in 1961. In the years he won his AFL championships was in 1961, 69, and 70. With that being said, number 35 is Billy Cannon. Number 34, 1996, Keyshawn Johnson, wide receiver, USC. Now you might know this nigga for his horrible fucking sports take. You might see how big this nigga is and think, damn, that was a wide receiver? But yeah, he was a wide receiver taken number 1 overall in the 1996 NFL Draft. For his career, he won 1 Super Bowl championship with the 2002 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was a 3-time Pro Bowler. He had 10,571 receiving yards and 64 touchdowns. Number 33, 2008, Jake Long, Michigan. He was a 4-time Pro Bowler, 1-time first-team All-Pro, and a 1-time second-team All-Pro. Now let me tell you something. I had 90 names, and it took me 2 hours to figure out this dude was missing. So I might have hoed him right here, but fuck him. Number 32, 1971, Jim Plunkett, Stanford, quarterback. For the first years in NFL's career, he wasn't shit. He's kind of the Eli Manning of the 1970s and 80s. Mediocre quarterback, but he was somehow a 2-time Super Bowl champion, 1-time Super Bowl MVP because he was part of the John Madden Raiders. 0 accolades, and the only stat he ever led the league in was fucking interceptions, my nigga. Does it remind you of somebody? A square-headed, ugly fuck named Eli Manning? He threw for 164 touchdowns, 198 interceptions, and should never sniff the Hall of Fame just like Eli Manning. 31, 1980, Oklahoma, Billy Sims, running back. Anytime this dude was healthy enough to play, over 10 games, he had 1,000 plus rushing yards, 3-time Pro Bowler, 2-time second-team All-Pro, and Offensive Rookie of the Year. This guy would have been one of the greatest running backs of all time. Watch his highlights. He's fucking insane. It's sad he didn't get to finish his career, but he has a great barbecue place, I can tell you that, my nigga. Time for another beer. This is number 6. By the way, no food. Fucking Christ, man. Cheers, boys. Number 30, 1981, George Rogers, South Carolina, running back. He was a very good running back. He led the league in rushing in his rookie year. In 1981, he's a 1-time first-team All-Pro because he made it in his rookie year, like I said. Offensive Rookie of the Year. He also led the league in rushing touchdowns in 86, and he was a 2-time Pro Bowler. Genuinely, he retired too early because the year before he retired, he rushed for 1,200 yards and 18 rushing touchdowns. But maybe it was too much on his body because this could have been one of the best running backs in NFL history. He could have had 10K plus yards. This might be the first guy that lived up to the number 1 overall status. But since he didn't play past 7 years, number 30 is George Rogers. Number 29, 1984, Irving Fryer, Nebraska, wide receiver. 5-time Pro Bowler, 2-time second-team All-Pro. He retired with 12,785 receiving yards and 82 touchdowns, which was top 10 in each of those categories. Actually, I just checked. Not in receiving touchdowns, but in receiving yards, yeah, he was top 10. Hall of Very Good is what this guy is. Probably won't sniff the Hall of Fame, but man, he was a good wide receiver. Number 28, 2001, Michael Vick, Virginia Tech. I fucking love Michael Vick, my nigga. On some real shit, though, he shouldn't have been fighting them dogs, but dude, watching Michael Vick growing up, that was something else, man. I love me some Mike Vick. Before I get canceled, let me move on from this entry. He was a dog on the field. He was a 4-time Pro Bowler, 1-time Comeback Player of the Year. Nigga, what did he come back from? Fucking prison, my nigga. Revolutionized the quarterback position, became the first quarterback to rush for 1,000 yards in a season, retired with the most rushing yards by a quarterback, but besides besides that, he was okay at best when it came to passing. He only had 22,464 passing yards, so 133 passing touchdowns to 88 interceptions. He rushed for 6,107 yards, 36 touchdowns, and he averaged 7 yards a carry for a career. Yeah, I love Michael Vick. He has a special place in my heart. Fuck you, Nick. Number 27, 1993, Drew Bledsoe, Washington quarterback. Simply put, the greatest Patriots quarterback ever. He won 1 Super Bowl championship with the Patriots, and he went to 2. And if you say in 2001 the other guy that will not be named is the catalyst for that Super Bowl championship, they both had the same amount of passing touchdowns with 1. He retired as a 5-time Pro Bowler, passed for 4,611 passing yards, 251 passing touchdowns, and 206 interceptions. Really good quarterback. He never was elite, but he was Hall of Very good. Number 26, Ed Too Tall Jones, defensive end, Tennessee State. He was a 1-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time second-team All-Pro, 3-time Pro Bowler, and 1-time Super Bowl champion. He retired with 106 sacks in his career. You could really argue Ed Too Tall Jones is our first Hall of Famer on this list. He had over 10 sacks in 1985 when he had 13, and he had over 10 sacks in 1987 when he had exactly 10. He placed in Defensive Player of the Year twice. He placed 3rd in Defensive Rookie of the Year, and you could really argue, like I said, he is a Hall of Famer. With that being said, number 25, 2016 Jared Goff, Cal quarterback. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Simply put, can we put respect on Jared Goff's name? I believe in this dude since he came out of college. And simply put, he's had back-to-back 30-plus passing touchdown seasons. How much other quarterbacks can really say that? He's one of the 5 to 10 best quarterbacks in the league. Consistently puts up good numbers. Even when he was in St. Louis and LA, he put up great numbers. I don't know if it's the 6 beers talking, but they're telling me in my head this is an underrated guy, and I've thought this for a while. He's a 5-time Pro Bowler. He placed an MVP in 2024. In the last 3 seasons, he's thrown for 30-plus touchdowns. In 2023, he threw for 30 touchdowns. In 2024, he threw for 37. In 2025, he threw for 34 in the best year of his career. And not to mention, in 2018, he threw for 32. With that being said, number 25 is Jared Goff. Number 24, 2012, Andrew Luck, Stanford quarterback. The most hyped up pick in NFL history since John Elway in 1983. Andrew Luck is one of the greatest quarterbacks in college football history. If we're going per throw, he has one of the best careers in NFL history. Andrew Luck was a 3-time Pro Bowler, 1-time Comeback Player of the Year, led the league in passing touchdowns in 2014, was an MVP level quarterback whenever healthy, just retired early in 6 years. He passed for 23,671 passing yards, 171 passing touchdowns, and 83 interceptions. Placed in MVP voting multiple times in his NFL career, and it's just tragic how his NFL career ended. With that being said, number 24, Andrew Luck. Number 23, 2019, Joe Burrow, LSU. He has been an elite quarterback ever since he stepped a foot on the NFL gridiron. He led the league in passing yards and touchdowns in 2024. He's a 4-time Pro Bowler, 1-time Comeback Player of the Year. And whenever he steps foot on an NFL field, he is the best player on the Cincinnati Bengals. He's a top 10 player in the league. He's one of the 5 to 10 best quarterbacks in the league, but he has to stay healthy. Number 22, 2003, Carson Palmer, USC. Carson Palmer is a 3-time Pro Bowler. He's a 1-time second-team All-Pro. Very good quarterback. He passed for 46,247 yards, 294 touchdowns to 187 interceptions. Some people argue he should be in the Hall of Fame. Me personally, I wouldn't put him in there, but honestly, I think he maybe should have won the MVP in 2015 over Cam Newton. I mean, Cam definitely deserved the award. We could have considered Carson Palmer a little more. With that being said, number 22 is Carson Palmer. Number 21, 1967, Bubba Smith, Texas. Bubba Smith was 2-time Pro Bowler, 1-time first-team All-Pro, 1-time second-team All-Pro. He retired with 52.5 sacks, 2 double-digit sack seasons, 1-time Super Bowl champ with the 1971 Colts. But yeah, very good NFL player. And you could argue he lived up to number 1 overall status. And also with that being said, another beer down the fucking hatch, dude. I'll probably never do a fucking video like this again, man. Let's get to the next person. God fucking damn. Number 20, 1968, Ranieri, USC. He's a 6-time first-team All-Pro and one of the greatest tackles ever. 7-time Pro Bowler, 1-time second-team All-Pro, and our first Hall of Famer on this list. So that being said, number 20 is Ranieri. Number 19, 1945, Charlie Trippi, Georgia. Second first overall pick to pan out. He was a Hall of Famer, 1-time first-team All-Pro. He rushed for 3,506 yards and 23 touchdowns. Number 18, 1966, Tommy Nobis, Michigan. He was a 5-time Pro Bowler, 1-time first-team All-Pro, 1-time second-team All-Pro, retired with 9.5 sacks and 12 interceptions, and I think he should be in the Hall of Fame personally. Yeah, shout out Tommy Nobis. That's my nigga for real, bro. Number 17, 1942, Bill Dudley, Virginia. All of the above. He was the first #1 overall pick to live up to the hype. He was a Hall of Famer, first-team All-Pro 1-time second-team All-Pro, 3-time Pro Bowler, rushed for 3,057 yards and 18 touchdowns. He led the league in rushing yards in 1946 at 604. He also led the league in rushing yards in 1942 with 696. And he also left the NFL to serve in World War II in 1943 and 44, and then came back like the heroic fucking patriot he is to lead the league in rushing. So with that being said, number 17, Bill Dudley. Number 16, Paul Hornung, 1957 running back, Notre Dame. This is the first NFL MVP on our list, my nigga. He rushed for 3,711 yards, 2-time first-team All-Pro, 1-time second-team All-Pro, 1-time MVP, and he robbed Jim Brown in 1961. Hold on, and if you don't know about this MVP robbery, let's segue into this. Because my board ass just looks at MVPs and looks at the stats and sees if they line up. And they fucking don't this season, my nigga. Paul Hornung in 1967 on 127 attempts, my nigga, rushed for 597 yards and 8 touchdowns and 1 MVP. By the way, the person on his same team in Jim Taylor rushed for 1,307 yards and doubled his touchdowns amount with 15. And by the way, Jim Brown, who placed second, rushed for 1,408 yards, 8 touchdowns, and should have probably won MVP this season. Because whatever fucking reason, I genuinely don't get this MVP voting. Like, I never have. But Paul Hornung's a Hall of Famer. He's a good running back. I wouldn't say he's great, but since he's in the Hall of Fame, he's number 16. Number 15, 2011, Cam Newton, Auburn quarterback. He retired with the most rushing touchdowns by a quarterback in NFL history with 72. He was a 3-time Pro Bowler, 1-time first-team All-Pro, 1-time MVP, 1-time Offensive Player of the Year. He had 194 passing touchdowns, 123 interceptions, passed for 32,383 yards, rushed for 75 touchdowns, ran for 5,628 yards, one of the greatest dual-threat quarterbacks of all time, and I think in this era he would be even more dominant than he was back then. With that being said, number 15, Cam Newton. Number 14, 2006, Mario Williams, North Carolina defensive end. 1-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time second-team All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowler, 5 seasons with 10+ sacks. He was dominant as a defensive end, and those contacts he had on his eyes were fucking badass, man. Give it like 20 years and this dude's making the Hall of Fame, I shit you not. But he had multiple 10+ sack seasons, like I said. In 2007, he had 14 sacks. In 2008, he had 12 sacks. In 2012, he had 10.5. In 2013, he had 13. In 2014, he had 14.5. And I think personally, he should make the Hall of Fame, and he retired with 97.5 sacks. That being said, number 14 is Mario Williams. Number 13, 1989, Troy Aikman, UCLA. Great playoff performer, but this nigga is overrated, bro. I should not see lists where Troy Aikman's over Steve Young all time. Like, are we fucking stupid? This nigga passed over 20 passing touchdowns in a season once, and he played in the fucking 9. But with that being said, he's a 3-time Super Bowl champion, 6-time Pro Bowler, 32,942 yards, 165 passing touchdowns, 141 interceptions. If you didn't have the Super Bowl, you probably shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. But with that being said, number 13 is Troy Aikman. Number 12, 2004, Eli Manning, quarterback, Ole Miss. He is overrated as fuck, my nigga. He's a 2-time Super Bowl champ, 2-time MVP. The only stat he led the league in was fucking interceptions, and he did that shit 3 fucking times, my nigga. He's overrated as fuck. He didn't win those Super Bowls against Tom Brady. He won those Super Bowls because Tom Brady only put up 14 fucking points and he had to get 17. They scored 5 touchdowns in 2 Super Bowl fucking games, my nigga. I'm tired of Eli Manning getting all the credit and it somehow being fucking miraculous or something, like his defense didn't fucking clutch up. With that being said, Eli Manning, number 12. Number 11, 1949, Chuck Bednarik, linebacker, Penn State. One of the greatest defensive players in NFL history. 6-time first-team All-Pro. Defensive stats weren't really tracked in the 40s. Yeah, that's pretty much it. One of the greatest fucking linebackers, defensive players of all time. Number 11, Chuck Bednarik. And now it's time for another beer. Son of a bitch. Second to last one of the video. We're getting there. If you stuck around this long, why don't you crack open yourself a beer? Number 10, 2009 Matthew Stafford, Georgia quarterback. I think personally, if he puts up one more great season, has one more Super Bowl, he's in the top 10 quarterbacks of all time. I think he's already a Hall of Famer personally. Matthew Stafford, he's a one-time Super Bowl champ, one-time MVP, one-time first-team All-Pro, three-time Pro Bowler, one-time comeback player of the year, led the league in passing touchdowns and yards in 2025. He's thrown for 64,516 yards, which is top 10 all-time, 423 passing yards, and is a future Hall of Famer, like I said. I think he is very close to being a top 10 quarterback of all time. The only dude he got to beat is John Elway, and if you watched this channel before, you know how I fucking feel about that dude. He had one of the greatest MVP seasons in modern memory last year because he never played bad in a single game. Even up into the playoffs where he lost, he fucking played great against that Seattle Seahawks team. But with that being said, number 12 is Matthew Stafford. Number 9, 1970, Terry Bradshaw, Law Tech. Four-time Super Bowl champion, one-time MVP, led the league in passing touchdowns in 1978 and 82. One-time first-team All-Pro and Hall of Famer. Probably the greatest quarterback in Pittsburgh Steelers history. And no, it's not that guy because he's a fucking rapist. Like I said, all-time great playoff performer. He's a two-time Super Bowl MVP, and the dynasty of the Pittsburgh Steelers wouldn't be the same without him. So number 9, Terry Bradshaw. Number 8, 1976, Leroy Selman, defensive end, Oklahoma. One of the greatest defensive players in NFL history. While the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were driving their nuts on fucking broken glass, Leroy Selman was there to lift an inch up off of it. He had 4 10-plus sack seasons, one-time first-team All-Pro, 3-time second-team All-Pro, 6-time Pro Bowler, 1-time Defensive Player of the Year. In 9 seasons, he has 78.5 sacks, and simply put, he's one of the greatest defensive ends in NFL history. Number 7, 1978, Earl Campbell, running back, Texas. The greatest power back to ever play the game of football. He led the league in rushing in his first 3 years in 78, 79, and 80, in the latter of which he won MVP in 1980 while going for 1,934 yards in 15 games. He's a 3-time first-team All-Pro, 3-time Offensive Player of the Year, 1-time MVP, and a Hall of Famer. And honestly, if I recreated my top 10 running backs list, I'd probably add this dude. He's one of my favorite running backs of all time. Peak for peak, niggas really can't fuck with this dude, Earl Campbell, at least in the regular season. With that being said, the 7th greatest number 1 overall pick in NFL history is Earl Campbell. Number 6, 1997, Orlando Pace, offensive tackle, Ohio State. He's one of the greatest tackles of all time. 7-time Pro Bowler, 3-time first-team All-Pro, 1-time Super Bowl champion, and he popularized the pancake block. He's a Hall of Famer. Number 6, Orlando Pace. Number 5, 1969, O.J. Simpson, USC running back. He was murdering people on the field with his quickness, his strength, his toughness, breakaway speed. There's nothing you could do about this dude, and he would get away with it too. On the field, he was the first dude to rush for 2,000 yards. He has the record for most yards per game at 148, I believe, in 1978. He led the league in rushing in 1972, 1973, 75, and 76. He's one of the 10 greatest running backs of all time, probably. I keep him off my list because he's a fucking murderer. He's a 5-time first-team All-Pro, 1-time MVP, 1-time Offensive Player of the Year, 6-time Pro Bowler, was top 5 in rushing at his retirement, and a Hall of Famer. O.J. Simpson is one of the greatest players in NFL history. Number 4, 1983, John Elway, quarterback, Stanford. I find him really overrated. I think when you're halfway through your career and you have as much interceptions as touchdowns, how the fuck do you got an NFL job? But anywho, he's a 2-time Super Bowl champ, 1-time Super Bowl MVP, 1-time MVP, 4-time second-team All-Pro. Never made a first-team All-Pro in his career because he was never the best quarterback in the league in any year he fucking played. 9-time Pro Bowler. He passed for 51,475 yards, 300 touchdowns, and 226 interceptions. Hall of Famer. I don't like him. I think he's fucking overrated. I don't think he was good in the regular season or really good in the fucking playoffs. With that being said, number 4 is John Elway. Number 3, 2017, Myles Garrett, Texas A&M defensive end. One of the 5 greatest defensive players in NFL history. He might break Bruce Smith's all-time sack record. He's on pace too. He has the most sacks in a single season, breaking Michael Strahan's record last year, and he had 23. He's a 5-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. He is for sure a first-ballot Hall of Famer, and he has 125.5 sacks, and he hasn't played a fucking decade in the league. Myles Garrett's probably my favorite first overall pick in NFL history, and that's why he's number 3 on my list. Number 2, the guy I was just talking about, 1985, Bruce Smith, Virginia Tech defensive end. The all-time sack leader, one of the 3 to 5 greatest defensive players ever, 8-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, 11-time Pro Bowler, never led the league in sacks, but he had 200 career total sacks. Hall of Famer, one of the greatest defensive players ever. There's nothing like Bruce Smith. He's the greatest Buffalo Bill of all time. He's on the top 4 defensive players in NFL history. He's on the Mount Rushmore. And yeah, Number 2 is Bruce Smith. Number 1, Peyton Manning. There hasn't been a smarter quarterback since Peyton Manning since he entered the league. He might have fucking sucked in the playoffs, but Peyton Manning as a quarterback, you couldn't pick a better number 1 overall pick. In 1998, the Colts drafted Peyton Manning out of Tennessee. He retired with every possible quarterback record of all time. He still has the most MVPs at 5, went to 4 Super Bowls, won 2, and has arguably the greatest regular season of all time in 2004. He led the league in touchdown passes in 2000, 2004, 2006, 2013, led the league in passing yards in 2000, 2003, 2013. He's a 7-time first-team All-Pro at the quarterback position, 3-time second-team All-Pro, 15-time Pro Bowler, 2-time Offensive Player of the Year, 1-time Comeback Player of the Year, Hall of Famer, one of the 3 to 5 greatest quarterbacks ever, and he has the most passing yards and passing touchdowns in an NFL season. He set that record twice in 04 and 2013. With that being said, the greatest first overall pick of all time is Peyton Manning. So with that being said, technically I still got a beer to drink. Cheers. So what we learned is don't drink 9 beers off of 0 food and off of waking up. Like, comment, subscribe. Catch you boys later. Peace. Oh my fucking God.